and welcome to Conversations with My Real Friends. I'm Jennifer. I'm here with my friend Ed. Ed is an estate planning attorney here in Westlake Village, and we're going to be talking about estate planning gone wrong. So what are some of the mistakes you see and things that you think people should pay attention to avoid?
You know, in this day and age, you'd think that the rich and famous are doing the right things.
Right.
So there's no other validation with respect to what I do for a living than when a very famous person doesn't do it the right way.
Right.
And so we have countless examples from Prince to Aretha Franklin to Michael Jackson to James Dean to Marilyn Monroe.
Oh yeah.
Right? And they all generally fall under they didn't consult with a professional. They didn't set it up. So the most simple one is not planning at all. Letting the state make decisions for you when you really should be making decisions. So we have a case like James Dean, where he was young. Not a lot of people who are 24 years old like to think about this thing, but guess what? We all have to pay taxes and we all will pass away. Right? So James Dean didn't plan, and the state gave everything to his father, who was the wrong person because the father had abandoned the family.
Right. He was not the right person from a ethical, life planning, but legally, because of intestate succession rules, he was the right person.
He was the rightful person because in state of California, when you don't decide, California decides, and California has already figured it out whether that's the right or wrong person to you. Right.
That is not part of the consideration. It's just a calculus.
Exactly.
Right? There's a chart.
Then we have the case of Marilyn Monroe.
Yes.
She left a will, right? So what's the difference between a will and a trust and not having a will? So the good news with the will is you get to decide who's getting it. Right. But it still ends up in probate court. Yep. Right? So what she did is she gave 75% to her acting coach, Lee Strasberg. But then she secretly told Lee, please give it to charity. But she didn't put that into the will. So she was actually a very charitable person, Marilyn Monroe. But she didn't know how to do it the right way. So because it was not legal and because she didn't put it, Lee ended up keeping the money. And marrying a very young person, and that person inherited the vast majority of Marilyn Monroe's estate. So be specific.
Yes, and there are ways to do what you want to do. Don't try to do a workaround.
Usually you get in a lot of trouble when you become, the surgeon and you didn't go to medical school. Right? Yep, and I say that a lot. But probably one of the most common ones is adding a child to your asset. So for example, you have real property. And they're like, no, I don't want to talk to Jennifer. I don't want to talk to Ed because they're attorneys and they're going to bill me. So they'll add Junior on while they're on their deathbed, right? And yes, to an extent, it will avoid probate, but there are a bunch of issues that will end up happening, not to mention taxes. Correct. Right? So be very careful. It's happening a lot. And by the time you and I get called, it's too late because mom had passed. And taxes are...
there's a huge tax
implication.
Huge tax
from a gift point of view, but most likely from a capital gains point of view when that child sells the property.
Well, and I've seen it, a mom will add a child onto the property and then the child goes and gets a lien, and now that lien can attach to mom's property, Or I've had it where they've added minor children to title. So I had a situation, they added their children thinking they were, being safe. Well, then they needed a refinance. They needed cash. Well, minors can't borrow. So we had to go get there's a whole legal process to get authority to be able to get a loan so that these children-owned properties can get loans.
You have to deal with Judge Judy.
Correct. You got it. You're back in court, which is what hopefully we're trying to avoid. Yes. So the bottom line is, planning is super important, but proper planning. It's like not just putting something down, but having the right support to plan properly.
And really the issue in California is real property is so significant here. Most of the time it is the main asset. So when you have real property, consider using the gold standard, which is a trust.
So if people want the gold standard, how can they reach you?
We're Crest Law Group here in Westlake Village, California. Check us out online at oakcrestlaw.com or by phone at 818-597-8800.
Great. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks, Jennifer.
And thank you for joining us for this episode of Conversations with My Real Friends. We'll see you soon.